Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's episode, we're finally getting around to building the outside fire pit slash cooking oven out of this big oil drum. So I've got a couple things in my mind on how I want to do this. One thing I know for sure, I want a double door opening system, and I want a rack on half of it so I can scrape the coals under, throw a steak on a metal rack, do some cooking, and the other side to just be open. Now I would like that rack removable so the whole thing can just be a giant fire pit. And like I said, I want the doors to be able to open individually. And yeah, a couple things on the go. So I'm gonna get this stood upright and take one of these straight pieces of metal and start drawing some ideas on the face of this and kind of figure out what I'm gonna do and then get to cutting and welding. Alright guys, so I've marked out where I want my door, my big cutout, how I want to do it. I know you guys can't see it because the color, the glare, the color of the marker, it's impossible for you to see it. But I've got everything marked out exactly where I want to cut it. I've taken into consideration of why I put the lines where I put them. I want the bottom to be close to the kind of curve area, but not too low. The reason why I'm not going any lower is because I don't want the fire to fall out, and I'm not going up too high because I don't want the coals to sink all the way down to the bottom and then there basically be no flames up here. I am going to be building a grate in the bottom to do a false bottom, and that will be removable so I can get a shovel in there, clean out all the coals, so on and so forth. But I did mark it out before I cut the doors out. I'm actually going to do a cut on one side, and then I'm going to weld on my hinges. I'm going to go to the other side, cut, weld on my hinges, and then I'm going to finalize the cut. That way I don't need to hang the doors. They'll already be welded and ready to go in their natural position. Alright, so I've got all 4 hinges welded on, really nice heavy welds, just because this is going to see a ton of heat. And I don't want them popping off or having any issues. So, these are welded on, really strong. Got my relief cuts. Now I can finish the cut and finish cutting out the entire door. And then the hinge can do its job on opening and shutting. So, let's get this finished up with the cut. And hopefully we'll be able to stand it up, open up the doors, and have a good look at it. Got the doors cut, hinges are welded, held very nicely, it didn't fall in on itself. I even welded a latch in the center, so that's good. I'm gonna stand it up and see if we can open this thing. It is very heavy. Oh, my back doesn't like it. There is a bunch of furnace oil inside of here right now. I should mention that. No, not smart. But it was sealed, no oxygen in there. It did not catch fire. And when I say, yeah, it's probably like an inch to the bottom. But as you guys can see, really nice hinge action on that actually. Oh yeah, I'm happy with that. Alright, so this is looking really good. It's extremely heavy. I dumped the oil out, it's still very heavy. Before I go ahead and doing anything else, I would like to grind these sharp edges off, but I just don't feel comfortable grinding and welding now that it's totally open. So I'm going to toss some fire in there like that, burn some of it out. There are some components in here that need to be removed, like the filler probe there. There's another probe over here that needs to be cut out, and a big pipe here that needs to be cut out. So a few things need to be removed inside, but I can already tell I'm very happy with where I put my cut, and everything's looking really, really good. I'm gonna have to weld some tabs on the inside so the doors don't keep over shutting like that. So we'll weld some stoppers on the inside, but I want to get this burned out first before I start throwing some welding sparks again. You guys can see the furnace oil. It is furnace oil, it reeks, but it's not very easy to light. Toss in a fire starter. See if that'll do the trick. Hey, what's going on, guys? It is the next day. It got way too dark last night to finish up the welding on the tank, but I did get it loaded full of cardboard, wood, lit a big old fire, burned up a little bit of the excess oil that was in the bottom, and now it's basically clear of any kind of liquid or flammables. I did tack on a pipe late last night, a big chimney pipe, ran 2 beads on the side, got it cut, it's up there right now. Do have to finish running that bead all the way around. That's basically the chimney. And then you got to start picking away at the internals, building a blocker so the doors don't go too far in, getting the grate set up, and just kind of figuring out the finishings on this of how it's going to work for cooking and for burning. Like I said, I do want a grate so the wood is floating and the ash and stuff can fall through. but that grate needs to be removable to shovel out all the ash. So a couple things on the go here. It's cold. We're going to get this welder fired up and hopefully generate some heat. Alright guys, so I ran this bead on this side and the bead on this side, and now we're left with this gap, so I got to start building up some weld really slowly, build up a bead to close that gap, and basically just weave it like a figure-8 pattern back and forth to kind of close it up. These beads are looking really good, nice, thick and chunky. It's going to hold this heavy thick gauge pipe up there and block in all the smoke hopefully. I've got a few things going on here. I got a bed rail, which is angle iron. This is really weird talking because it's echoing in back at me, but I've got a bed rail that I've cut, piece of angle iron. I'm going to be utilizing that. I've also got this rebar, this 1/2 inch rebar. I just cut these to 18 inches. That's going to give me my bottom grate. So I'm just going to lay these in here just to get a good look at it. And keep in mind, I do want this removable. Get that piece of firewood out of there. If it can be removable. If it's too big and clunky, then I guess I'll just leave it in there. I'm not really worried about this piece being removable. But the cooking grate has to be removable, which is going to be up a little bit higher. I want this grate down low because this is where all the firewood's going to sit on top of, and I don't want it falling out. So if I were to do the grate up here, the firewood would just fall out. That's ridiculous. So I think that looks good right there. And then I've got 2 of these runner pieces that are going to get welded onto those rebars. And this is the part where it looks like it's not going to be easily removable at that length. But I could, you know what, it doesn't have to be removable. It just has to be able to lift up so I can get in with a shovel and clean it out. So that's actually perfect just the way it is right there. I'm going to tack weld these together. I'll give you guys a look right now down inside so you can see. Spacing them out evenly, and yeah, we'll tack weld the rebar together, get that welded, so we'll have a grid of rebar that can kind of be manipulated out of there if it comes out. If not, it can be moved out of the way to be shoveled out and cleaned. Alright, so it's a little dirty in here, but this will give you an idea. My hand in there, there's about 4, maybe 5 inches from this grate down to the very bottom of the tank. And you guys can see the grid layout. So this is going to hold the really big pieces of firewood, and the ash and stuff will fall down through the bottom. Weld these together, that whole grate will become one piece. Alright guys, so everything is finalized. I did do quite a bit more work off camera, and I actually did have a fire in here, burned it really hot. Everything is working really well. I even went ahead and welded up this rack. Now this is still hot. I'm gonna try and get it out of there without burning myself. So with the leftover rebar, welded up a nice sized rack. That goes on top of those bed rails, and it can be slid side to side wherever I need it to go. So if I want to do some cooking, put a steak on there, the slats are close enough that a steak can go on it. Put a pot, a pan, whatever. And then there's still all of this area here for actual fire, so I can scrape some coals over there, do whatever I need to. And then that grate down in the very bottom is removable as well, to scrape out all the buildup of coals and wood ash. So very happy with this. This project is finally completed. A couple little tweaks here and there, like I'm gonna have to drill some holes on the side for drainage of water, because I did just dump a bunch of water in there to put the fire out. But other than that, I think it's looking really good. So I want to thank you guys for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next episode.